Hey everybody, what is going on? It is your boy Izlo33 welcoming you back to the world's pickems live for the Swiss stage as well as our opening days predictions. There's 8 games on that docket which we will attack soon enough, but first we're going into the pickems live here on lolesports.com. We're going in to the Swiss stage picks, and I'm ready to make these ones. We have 11 hours to do these predictions. That kind of gives you a clue as to when I'm doing this, but yes. Choose 8 teams to advance. Basically, some of these teams will not make it through to the knockouts, as they're actually called. So, here we go. My first pick, JDG, will advance. Kind of obvious there. Don't know if you can see it, but JDG jersey right there. Pointed that one out yesterday. You know I'm going to pick him first here, because I think they're the front runners for the entire tournament. Next up, we've got to go Gen G. Similar sort of story as to JDG. These two are the front runners for the entire thing. And as a whole, Gen G are looking to crush the hopes of the miracle or perfect run JDG have had this year. And I think that's probably the case. Next, we might as well just follow the line. I think T1, the next solid pick to come through here. Not really any contest out from any other team here. These 3, probably the stock standard things we see coming through in this rotation. 3 picks down. We've got 5 more to go. Now, that means we're actually giving up 8 teams not advancing. Now, with how the Swiss stage works, lose 3 games and you're out of the tournament. Simple as. You've got 2 losses to work with. Now here, I kind of feel like you have to look at the LEC and the rest of the LCK and LPL teams. This is the 4th slot. As first round, we know that either Damwon or G2 are going down in terms of their predictions, but with how scrims have gone, G2 more than likely are the team to get to 1-0 first. That does put them in the big boy club. Let's go into our third. G2 I think will be making their way, even though they advance to the big boy club first. Like, granted, the 1-0 club's going to have a lot of big powerful teams in, and the seeding no longer matters in the second rotation of games. So G2 here probably will face either Gen G or T1 or JDG. My prediction, honestly. So them teams there are very scary to go against. So G2 probably will fall to a 1-on-1 scoreline. Probably face Damwon again and win out, advancing in the tourney. That's just probably all how it goes. You know, that sort of stupidness. But yeah. Let's get into our 5th team advancing. And as much as I hate talking about LCS teams, I think there's probably a chance of this guy sneaking in, because let's be honest, they're not technically an 8, they're EU. There's more chance of them going in than them, but we'll get to them. KT, LNG, DK, Weibo. There's your 8. Simply put, it's going to be a repeat of Worlds from last year, where only Rogue advanced out of the group stage. This time it's only going to be G2 brutally honest, we could actually see this team and this team falling off more so than these two. And I think if we did go for that, which I'm thinking is probably my go, I think we're more likely to see that and then that. That's my other thing. I didn't include BLG into this because I just didn't. But I think BLG actually should advance more so than anything. There's quite a few good options here because I can... But I think BLG will sneak in. And then it comes down to KT and Weibo. LNG are a sure lock because for some reason they have insane runs through the World Championship every year. They seem like the smartest option to go through. Then it's KT Weibo that I'm intrigued by. I think this one is more likely. I think Weibo just seem like the sort of squad to falter, to be the random weak squad that the East have. Just screamed like their sort of thing, because there's always that one team that you expect to do stupidly well at Worlds that end up like falling off, and Weibo feel like it, unfortunately, here for me. So that is kind of why they're being dropped here. And this is my Eastern Asian Games draft done. So here, choose a team to go undefeated. Of course, technically, one or two teams will go undefeated in this tourney. Because you win your first game, you're against winners. You win your next game, you're against winners only. Yeah, one team must have a perfect record. At least one, I should say. Team that I think will have it in the best of ones. Oh, that screams out to be Gen G. I think that's the smarter of the teams to go. Perfect. But yeah, they are my Swiss stage pickems locked in. Let's have a quick look-see at our play-ins. We got this correct with BDS advancing. Let's have a look at our crystal ball. There's been one reverse sweep that we've seen so far. That was BDS. So the chances are a second one is still very high. I feel slightly sad about this one, because we've had two already. I think there's actually been three, to say the least, because there was one on the opening day. Then there were two over last weekend. Cloud, I'm happy about. I don't think we've seen any of these just yet. I may have missed some. That I'm happy about, because it's all been 43 minutes or less. It's not been played that much. Syndra. Yeah, I thought she'd be more in meta than she is. I was wrong. I should have picked Maokai. Probably is up there, deaths for Rakan. Rel. Yikes. Now we get to the interesting picks, where it becomes the LCK show for me. And Gam actually would have win into this. Don't know who it is at the moment. I think it's BDS. T1, of course. There's my JDG prediction. There you go. So pickems are done. Let's get into the picks, the predictions for today's Swiss stage games. So let's get into it. If you don't know, we've been doing the live streams all throughout this tournament, and we kicked it off doing the predictions, and then we predicted throughout the streams. We haven't really covered the results, obviously, from the tourney so far. So the play-in stage, we got 6 of the series correct. That's including the Golden Guardians BDS series at the start of the tournament. It's a good score. It's just under half, and considering how close the tournament has been, it felt like anyone could have necessarily advanced to the point where it was literally BDS in the lower bracket who inevitably won the entire playing stage alongside GAM, who are in these predictions for today. So yeah, we did fairly well, to say the least. Speaking of the streams, if you didn't watch yesterday's nice long, almost 3-hour one, you'll not be aware that the Swiss stage, we're only covering 3 games per day, as that's 8 for the entirety of day 1 of the Swiss stage. You know that I do not want to cover all them in one day, because they become outdated very, very quick. So, day 1, we're getting into each matchup. I'll let you know which we're covering right now. Not right now, but during the actual game prediction. See you in a second. These predictions with LCS's first game in this tournament. It's also the LCK's, as T1 take on Team Liquid. Now, this is going to be the LCK 2nd seed versus the LCK 6th seed, I guess. I don't know who was 5th in terms of the LCK seeding, but it's probably another North American team. The reason I say it's the LCK 6th seed is because pretty much over half the roster is from Korea. It's sad to say, but it is true. As APA and Yeon are the only players from North America literally listed, and that is kind of disappointing, to say the least, because let's be honest, the North American league and scene kind of sucked, and I've hated it for a while. It's kind of why we dropped it as a whole for our predictions, not because I wasn't able to watch the matchups and do breakdowns on them. But yeah, this team is built with world champions, so we have to give them some credit. Core JJ, former world champion. Piosik, current reigning world champion, and one of the only few players still with that title at this tournament, because DRX aren't here in its entirety, and that removes Barrel from that pool. Death's here with D1, and he is a reigning world champ. Don't know about other players who are reigning world champs currently. I'll have to have a look-see at that one. But yeah, T1 going up against Team Liquid here. That's what we're really focusing on. Personally, I think the most notable thing is it's going to be probably T1 favored from the get-go. It's a best of 1. T1 known for craziness during these sorts of games. And I think going up against North America here, who, bear in mind, this is their 4th seed, or 3rd seed technically, pardon my language, T1 should have an easy time against them. And I think, as a whole, T1, who's been second fiddle to Gen G during this summer split, they're going to look to pass Gen G as a roster. They want to win another world championship. They were so close last year, and they want to do it here, where it could be the last few years for Faker in his career. I'm speculating here, but he's probably not got long left in. He's probably around about the same sort of time that Bjergsen has retired. It would make so much sense if that were to happen, but yeah. I think T1 will win. I think we'll see a big carry performance out from Gumayushi, and it will just be a clean game against some arguably inexperienced players on the Team Liquid side. It's time for a healthy dose of EU versus NA. Technically the second we're going to be covering in the space of 2 weeks as Cloud9 take on the Mad Lions. This is going to be a fun one to say the least, as the European squad are touted as the weakest side here, and it's purely down to their form at international tournaments. Mad Lions tend to fumble here at these sorts of things. MSI, they crashed and burned out against their own region in G2, who, spoiler alert, hadn't won a series in God knows how long, to then beat them in the knockout stages of MSI. Because bear in mind, G2 went through play-ins and were our second seed. Mad were our first seed and lost. Tells you basically everything about the Mad Lions here. But that was in a best of series. Mad tend to suck in them. Best of ones is where it's at, baby. And I think we'll see a good brawl between these two rosters, because Cloud9 let me do what I did to Team Liquid. Let's see how many of these players are from North America. I love doing this. Yeehaw. There we go. Cloud9. Hi. You are playing with an Australian, one American. This is worse than Team Liquid. This is actually the 5th seed for the LCK. Oh god. Only one American. You've technically got an Australian who classes as North American, which is dumb. You've then got Enemies and Berserker, your two Koreans. Sven in support, with the coach being Korean as well. Actually, the assistant general manager is Korean, I should say. But yeah, I don't like C9. I'm gonna be brutally honest, I don't like them at this tournament in terms of their chances. I should probably say. I'm not saying I hate New York. I'm certainly not saying that. I'm saying that I think the types of players they've got is the better way to word it. Do have issues. This is probably the last few games we'll see of Enemies for possibly a while. With the LCS ruling coming through, I believe he's going to be probably benched by C9, because if it amazes me he's still on the roster, because you don't really want to associate with players with derogatory and offensive language against other players. That just doesn't seem like a thing you'd want. But yeah, I think what we will see is them doing enough. They want to fight for it, and I think that'll probably be the big thing. Now, personally, C9 may just flop. It's a North American team who like to trash talk, and trash talking is probably the only thing they're good at when it comes to international tournaments in recent history. They've got previous history where they've done well. That's the easiest way to word it. But here against Mad, who also suck, I think this is going to be a close, all-out brawl that's just going to end in sadness for everyone. And it'll show why the West is weak compared to the East. Simple as that. I've gone with Mad winning. Nothing else needs to be said. Let's go with probably one of the easiest predictions this weekend. It's GAM versus Gen G. I'm used to calling them weekends. Can you tell? Uh, LCK first seed against PCS first seed. Probably the only first seed matchups we're gonna see. It is the only first seed matchups we're gonna see in the opening round of Swiss stage. And I don't think we'll get any others unless the LCK and LPL teams match up and the LEC and LCS ones do. NRG versus G2 sounds like a good matchup to me. But yeah, I think Gen G probably will easily wipe the floor with GAM. It's unfortunate to say that. It just, though, is how League works. I think if you look at Asia games, granted, it's not the same thing. I think it showed the difference in terms of each region as a whole in Asia. And the fact that the PCS didn't do as good, I don't think, compared to LCK, who won the entire thing, or Korea won the entire thing. I'm brain dead at the moment, but yeah, I think GAM will get demolished in a relatively easy fashion by Gen G. There's not much more needs to be said than that. Speaking of Storms, why have both the LCK and LPL teams that are first seeds got the easy matchups compared to the LCS and LEC? Who cares? Speaking of the LEC, BDS take on JDG. I like this matchup on paper. Adam versus 369 just screams like fun, because them two can probably have an all-out draft between themselves and still find picks that just will surprise the other. I like these two teams on paper. You've got the JDG jersey back there. You know I'm predicting JDG without even having any second thought. I do like this matchup, and it was close to being a matchup of the week for me. However, we've covered BDS quite a bit already, so they're being put to wayside for now. We may see them later on, who knows. But yeah, JDG should quite easily beat BDS here. Our first matchup of the Swiss stage. It's G2. It's DK. Damwon going off against one another once again at an international tournament. This is a big matchup because G2 right now, looking at how they've been doing on the Korean ladder and in scrims, from what has been touted about them, is very good, and they're a big threat. I think we're gonna have to be either worried when we see them on stage and they're flopping, or really confident in our region. I think G2 throughout this year have been dominant in the LEC, the quickest game times, hands down, just deleting opponents very easily and not really felt a contest. Granted, Spring was a bit of a struggle, and I think people pointed that out, but that's the only thing you can comment. That is literally months ago, more than a few. That was before literally MSI. So we've had an entire international tournament since then. We've had a full split. We've had a full 2 splits technically in the LEC with how dumb the format is this year. Still don't like it. But yeah, I'm going to be honest, G2 coming in with a lot of hype. And I think that is good for them. It should settle some nerves, should allow them to play with a lot more comfort, knowing that the region's going to be behind them, supporting them all the way, because we're hearing good things about them. Now, on the other side of the rift, it's Damwon in a home country. Last time these two teams faced off, Damwon got revenge after G2 took them out of Worlds and destroyed their hopes, basically, several years ago. Damwon obviously haven't been on the same level as what they were when they won the World Championship, but for now, you kind of have to be worried if you're G2, because look at the star power on this down one side. You've got Depth, who literally won the World Championship last year and played phenomenal through it. You've also got Showmaker on the international stage once more. This guy is a mid-magician who's carried Damwon throughout the years to get them back into international form. And G2 here honestly struggled last time at Worlds. We didn't really mention it like in the preface about G2, but we said Rogue were the only team during the pickems bit of the video. If you didn't watch that, what are you doing skipping through this? Shame on you. But yeah, G2 weren't the team to advance the furthest at Worlds last year. In fact, they were one of the weakest performers for our region, and that kind of is an issue, because if we get that G2 here at Worlds, then chances are Europe's hopes are dashed. We need camps to be performing well. Broken Blade has stepped up this year considerably, and I think he's going to be a very good performer here for our region in the top lane. Kind of show some top daddies what he's capable of, and the top father should do wonders. So, we're hyping it up. We're touting G2 all the way. It would be fitting for me to just do one quick thing. While you do see a G2 jersey there, yeah, that does say I'm supporting him. What's behind it is more scary, and probably a better clue as to who I'm predicting. I have a Damwon jersey, and guess what? I'm not predicting Damwon, baby. I'm going G2 here. Simply put, I think with what we're hearing right now, it's a lot more noise about G2 than it is about any other team. And G2 as a whole for our region, they're our top team. They're our first seed. I believe they get side select coming into this series. And with how dominant one side has been over the other in terms of priority in playing on, I think with that knowledge, G2 will probably go red, get the counter pick, and get the win. I think with how unpredictable this lineup is, chances are G2 will use that advantage and pick up the victory in a decisive Game 1 of the tournament for them. I've hung the Damwon jersey back up so we can talk about two teams we've not got jerseys for. Weibo Gaming and NRG enter the Rift for the first time in both organizations' history. Technically, if you class NRG as CLG, then yeah, they've been here before, but not under this name. And yeah, that's a different story. But NRG here are arguably the weakest Pool 1 team. And they're going against arguably the strongest Pool 4 team, who, let's be honest, LCK and LPL seeds in the Pool 4 technically are classed as a Pool 1. Because the solid strength that these two teams that those regions have down here are just insane. And so the fact that they're here is amazing. But yeah, let's discuss this game. It's our second matchup of the week, and I think with what we're getting, it's our first taste of NA. Now, obviously, with the way I'm doing these predictions, you can kind of tell I haven't started with T1 and TL, can't you? I started with the G2 series. So yeah, you know where my predictions are going to go from that point onwards. But yeah, NRG Weibo, it screams interest. Dokla versus Ashai. I mean, Dokla as a player, I remember as watching his career back when I used to follow the LCS quite a lot during our run of predictions. Let's be honest, I used to watch it quite a bit. He was in Academy, and he was on TSM Academy for a bit. I remember that was the split that they won the entirety of Academy. Yeah. With Cardboard Treats. Shout out if you remember that. Unless that was Brandini. I don't remember. But he was on TSM. And yeah, essentially, he was a big name back then. He was probably one of the most LCS ready top laners at the time. So the fact that he's getting onto the stage here at Worlds in literally his like 3rd or 4th split, maybe if that, in the LCS, that is a huge step up for him. As for the rest of his team, Palafox, Palafaker apparently, him here, it's just a lot of promising NA talent on an international stage as their first seed. Now, if you've heard me throughout the years comment on NA and comment about how I'm not a big fan of the region as it's grown throughout the years as a league, you know I'm not a big fan of teams that aren't like that are just all imports. Cough cough, Team Liquid right now. It's insane that you can have a team like that. Similar sort of story with Cloud9, but we'll get to them. We'll get to them. You're gonna love that bit. But you've probably already heard that bit. Hey ho. NRG here. I'm gonna be brutally honest with you. I think they're gonna lose. Not without trying. I think they're gonna put the heart on the sleeves and just brawl. Take it to this Weibo squad, who they've got former world champions on. They've got players who have been here countless times before, who are always wanting to prove that they deserve to be champions once again. They're going against that mentality, and I think NRG may struggle. I think they'll certainly lose, but it'll be a struggle for Weibo. I think NLG won't give up fighting. I think they're a sort of team that won't quit. I think they'll constantly be pressuring and fighting till the end. I think that's the sort of NA style we need to see. And who knows, maybe they will win. If they win, they join the Death Club, as I'll name it. And yeah, that should be an interesting time, to say the least, when we get into that bit. But don't worry. The second round, they could face someone from the LEC or LCS. That's the big thing. What you have to remember is teams can face anyone in the second round. Anyone who's got the same score as them, shall we say. That is a huge thing because it's not a straight one and gone situation. You've got fight back opportunities, and teams will be aware of it. They'll be still discovering the meta at this stage. Bear in mind, there's only 2 teams who are left that have had experience on the world stage, and that's BDS and GAM. They've kind of defined the meta of play-ins. Now I say of play-ins because for some odd reason, the entire meta shifts during the main stage, so who knows what we see. Now, as I was saying, Weibo will win this. I think it probably won't be close. I think mid lane will be a big diffy for some reason. No, I don't think mid. I think mid will be the most interesting matchup. I think it'll be a diffy in the jungle. I think the jungle matchup will be where we see the dominance from the LPL come through, where they're just able to out skirmish and outpace you and just deliver a decisive win to the LPL 4th squad. And somehow this is the last piece I'm recording right now, and it is by far one of the most interesting games. LNG versus Fnatic. Now, I like this matchup because you've got a returning Oscar in for Fnatic, I believe. It's not a super sub wonder for this one. And on LNG, their history at Worlds of being these outsider teams that always seem to do well from lower bracket in play-ins all the way through during the regular thing. I remember they were the team that finished atop of the Rogue group after Rogue went 3-0 in the opening week. And then LNG finished above them, considering they were a play-ins team that was unheard of. Especially across the rest of the world groups. LNG were really the only surprise package from that World's tourney last year. I mean, technically the DRX story is an entire surprise package, but hey, that's a different sort of surprise. LNG I like a lot. And going up here against somehow Europe's second seed in Fnatic, it is probably one of the only matchups where I feel the third seed is better than the second seed. I think LNG will quite easily deal with arguably a inexperienced Fnatic. I think with how, I hate to say it, but Trimby's form on the international stage does not favor him too heavily. He seems to struggle on international stages, and I hate saying that, as I'd say. Big Rogue fan here. Then you've got Oscarinin, his debut on the world stage. Bear in mind, his stage debut in the LEC, he was nervous as all hell, and you could see it in his performance. And I have not let that slip. The form that Fnatic found to get to this World Championship needs to be the form we see here on this stage. LNG is a good test for him. It's a good opener for us to gauge the strength of Europe here at the tourney. Don't get me wrong, G2 versus Damwon's a hell of a brawl for a first and fourth seed brawl. A battle. I think that'll be close. But this one, exceptionally close. I'm probably undervaluing Fnatic here. And I hope I am, because that gives me a better sort of storyline for the second round. Because, as I say, lose 3 and you're out of the tournament. Win 3 and you advance. That's all that you need to do. So the fact that here, LNG go up against Fnatic, winner gets closer to escaping the Swiss stage. Loser gets closer to being sent back home. I think we'll see desperation from both teams from the get-go, and I like how it is set up. But yeah, let's go into our last prediction, knowing full well I have predicted here, and I forgot what I wrote down, but my mind's in between two places. LNG is my prediction. You can tell when I see the prediction because my screen goes white. Or my face goes white. Yeah. But yeah, last prediction of video. Let's go. Why not round it out with our matchup of the week? Our third one to be exact. It's BLG. It's KT Rolster. LCK LPL clashing for the only time during the opening weekend of the Swiss stage. Gonna be an interesting one, to say the least. I personally am hyped for it, to say the least. I think BLG, arguably a very strong squad, coming in probably as a sort of dark horse for the tournament. We saw how well they did at MSI, and making it to the finals, only to lose out to JDG, to then go back into the LPL and finish, I believe, as their third seed. No, as their second seed, once more, behind JDG again. Yeah, that's the interesting thing, because they did it twice in a row, finishing second, and you kind of have to put them as a dark horse in this tournament, to say the least. And I think the most interesting matchup for this KT clash will be in the top lane. Keen versus Bin. The two top lane giants for the rosters. Granted, you could look at that mid lane matchup as an interesting one with BDD, who's been here before several times over, facing off against Yigao. It's going to be fun, and I think with how these two teams have been throughout the year, I think it's going to be a brawl. And LCK LPL matches tend to never disappoint. They're always interesting and going to be fun. I'm going to be coming in with an open mindset on these two teams. Granted, I've seen BLG live, and they're kind of my more favored, considering their underdog story throughout the entirety of MSI. But hey, it is what it is. Now, I haven't actually announced it, but my prediction is BLG for game number 8. So yeah, I think BLG as a whole, I think their top lane, with how the pool has been throughout this tournament, it's not been a tank meta. It's been more carry orientated, and I think Bin will thrive in this style. Probably will be the same sort of story for Keen, but I think Bin's arguably the second best top in this tournament. Hands down. So yeah, there's that. I guess it's time to round it out. Thanks for joining me for these 8 predictions. Rushed through, because I'm obviously not prepared at all for this. Because I've been ill, if you can't tell. If you've not paid attention to streams, where have you been? I've been sick, so I haven't been able to get these predictions made since the games were known. But yeah, that's going to be that. If you enjoyed it, leave a like down below. Subscribe if you're new and if you want to. And I will see you guys for the live stream literally the same day as these games happen. You don't want to miss it. Peace out.